aspiration that we have. The other aspiration that we have is that because of the low-cost products and services we are talking about, we're going to become the first bank in Pakistan to become a 10 million customer bank. So which is twice the number of customers. I'm at 4 million right now, which is doubling the bank in the next 3 to 5 years. So every time when I speak to the board or the management committee, I talk about doubling the bank. And I say that in the next 3 to 5 years, we are going to double the bank. On a Pakistan level, we are starting to think of a number, and what we are saying is that in the next 3 to 5 years, we should open twice as many accounts that we opened in the first 30 years. So it's taken us 63 years, to do 30 million. Now we should do 50 to 60 million in the next 5 to 6 years. So the transformation is going to be massive. Now, let me qualify what I say. You see, in the year 2001, there were only 500,000 people with mobile phones. And if I had told you then that by the year 2010 we will have 100 million people with mobile phones, you would have asked me perhaps to leave the room. But now, what I'm talking about is a much smaller play, because all of these people have mobile phones already. And we're talking about introducing a new type of functionality onto the phones which they have already. So it's a lesser way of transformation.
Did you have to do a sort of a comparative analysis to convince your board, say for instance, in one scenario you have no mobile phone, just a traditional banking moving ahead in 5 years at a normal pace that you had the last 30 years, maybe slightly better. And the other comparison you have the second slide, say for instance, with the mobile phone. So then you can have two pyramids or two graphs, one with and one without. So did you have to do that?
Yes.
I'm saying this because of the benefit of the audience.
That's
in order to convince the board, we can have two scenarios.
That's a great question. You see, that's a great question. In our case, what worked and what we do, you see, banks are not designed for innovation. Banks are not designed to do anything new. In banks, we get paid to manage risk. So anytime when we go out and do something new, that means there's more risk. So there are very few takers. So the only time when banks are actually forced to take risks or to innovate is the time when they are fearful or when they're scared. So you have to scare your board. You have to tell them that if you don't do this, you're going to be marginalized, and it's going to happen under your watch, and it's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. If you don't do this, somebody else is going to do this, and the market is going to grow. So today, I have 20% of the market. I have 20% of everything at MCB. But if the market grows by another 30 million customers, and I just grow by 500,000 customers, where does that leave me? I lose my market. Now, so the good work that other players are doing is from where you start your conversation. So in Pakistan, we are lucky enough for Telenor and Tamil to do Easy Paisa. It's brilliant work that they're doing. So I like to always start my conversation by what they've done and how they're growing and extending into the banking space. There's another bank, UBL, which is doing great work. All the telephone companies are trying to come in. So to cut the long story short, it's the fear of losing your space, I'm afraid, is the only way.
I can just tell you for sure with my experience that this fear is real. It does happen. It has happened with my experience in the past. I don't think that, but I'm just telling you it does happen.
Yes.
And to the best of the companies, really.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're most welcome. Questions? Please. Oh, Mike, please.
Can you hear me? It's established through your presentations is, of course, the telcos need a bank to target the top of the pyramid. That's where the money is, the easy money is. The second one, do you believe the bank would need the telcos partnership definitely to target the bottom of the pyramid? And you have mentioned that most of your applications are around GPRS. In a country like Bangladesh, that kind of telco-agnostic solutions is not feasible, as I would believe so. So definitely you need telco's partnership to tap into the other segment, which is bottom of the pyramid. So what would be your approach when it comes to telcos versus the bank? The very famous or infamous question of who shares what, particularly the share of load, the share of revenues. So what would be your approach to tackle this?
Okay. Look which market you are. The start play, you don't need a telephone company for you to start out on the road of making mobile payments, because what you're going to offer is to your own customers. Now, in some markets, channel choices are going to be easier than others. So even in your own market, let's say, hypothetically speaking, that you start with GPRS, but you know that there are only so many people with mobile internet. But you can make a step and have all your staff have the mobile internet, and you can have some of your customers have that. Very few. But suddenly you have 5,000 people who are actually using mobile phone to make payments. And then your bank and your board and your management committee and everybody is starting to get more educated about it. So the next thing that you do is that then you look at SMS, or then you look at another channel. And in that, then either you launch something which is channel agnostic, or if it's required, you do a thing with a specific channel and you make a product. And then you sell another 20, 30, 40,000, and then you take a call, and then you make another partnership. So it's about taking small steps on your own till you find the right partner that can take you further down. It's not about sitting on the fence and thinking about a brilliant idea and then executing that 2 years later, and suddenly all the light bulbs will come and you find yourself at the bottom of the pyramid. It's about taking small steps, which the senior management and the board will not refuse, because the upside could be tremendous, but the downside is very little. It's about that. And it's about finding a driver in the bank. Nothing will happen if your bank would not know who to blame in case things go wrong. So you have to raise your hand and you have to say, look, let us do this, and if in case something goes wrong, you can handle me. If you're not willing to do that, if you don't have a driver like that in your bank that everyone can point fingers to, when it's wrong, it won't happen. So you have to find that person or be that person and take small steps. And when actually success comes, then you have to distribute it to everyone. And it's everyone's better. And then you make the next bigger step.
A partnership with the telcos brings you 1 million or more subscribers at the bottom of the pyramid. So would you, if the telcos would ask you to share the float of any other million, what would be your take?
Look, I can answer that, but I want to tell you that, there is no reason to worry about these things when you haven't even started the race. It's like me saying that what would happen when I will have prostate cancer. Maybe I'll have that, but hopefully, not in the near future. So I will start to worry about it when I get to that age bracket, right? So, you have to worry about the dynamics of a bank-telco partnership once you can meet a telco. How can you meet a telco on equal footing is when you made some success on your own. If you've not made any success on your own, how would you become attractive to a telco? It's about a marriage, it's about a equal partnership. So you need to first develop your skill set. And at the strength of that success that you've created on your own, you go to a telco. And if the telco is listening to you and is beginning to work with you, which most of them don't, I know, then you stay away and you make your own thing, and soon enough you will be attractive enough for them to come to you. That's been our strategy, and that's how the banks have to play. Don't too much worry about all of these things right now. I want to share with you something which is okay to share in this market, I think, which is this, that because of the good work that we've done at MCB, now we are in advanced stages of constructing a partnership with Nokia. which is the largest handset manufacturing company in the world. And they're going to, so all Nokia phones are going to have MCD apps on them. And the phone will decide whether it's GPRS or SMS. And based on that, the user experience will not change. So where does the telco come in? Nowhere. Right? So for the first time, and we didn't know this, it's just that we've done this work and we were getting frustrated trying to work with a telephone company, we started to work with a handset manufacturer. Maybe in the future, banks and handset manufacturers are going to start to work together and telcos will just be the dumb pies. You know? So don't worry about that too much.
And just interestingly, I'm from a telco.
Oh. Then, okay, that's an interesting twist to the story.
You have a different answer for me now?
Yes, then yes, of course, from that perspective, you see, what you have to understand is that the banks are taking the risk here because the KYC is with the banks. One. So they are taking all the risk. The second, you have to understand and appreciate that in the payment business, I was telling this to someone earlier, the money is not where it seems at all. And that's what I've been trying to tell you. If you start to price the payments, there is no money to be made from the floor. The telephone companies are in the business of selling airtime. Airtime is like milk. If you don't sell it, it goes back. So you can't imagine giving someone free airtime or giving someone a free payment. So you have to let the banks do all of that part. But you are very good at marketing these services. You are very good at taking them at the bottom of the pyramid. So if you are a telephone company, try and look for banks that have actually taken some steps on their own and have some maturity in the mobile payment space and can appreciate what you're bringing to the table. So it has to be a partnership of equals. So far, I have not seen a workable partnership of equals between a telephone company and a bank. Sometimes the telephone company would buy a bank and they stop listening to banks when you buy someone, right? So
in the word, it's a partnership of equals.
Yes, and it's a very different nature. Banks don't take risks. We do one product in 3 years. You do a product every 4 days. So, you see, it's very difficult, but you've got to look for the right partner. Yeah. I've been asked to finish, but I can take one more question. Someone has it. Questions? Please.
Because I do not get everybody to say this challenge, that challenge. Government is a challenge, or private is a challenge, or what? What is the Pakistani experience?
If you want to do mobile payments in a meaningful way, where you're going to do a scale change play, where you're going to change a 100,000 customer bank to a 1 million customer bank, or a 4 million customer bank into a 8 million customer bank. If you're into a change scale play, and that's from the perspective I'm going to try and answer your question, then the biggest challenge comes in from the banks are traditionally not structured to do a scale change play because the banks have been very, very selfish because they operate out of a branch and the branch can only service so many customers, you see. So the core banking system is not designed for a scale up, and all the pipes that are on top of this core banking system, which is internet, which is ATM, which is your middleware, is not designed for a setup where people are accessing their bank account 10 times a day. So what you got to do is that not touch that part, but actually create a small little new age technology infrastructure on the outside. People in the bank will not let you do that because you're going to try and do it in a way that there's not a lot of money being spent and still it comes up and money is only going to be spent as you scale up. So people become insecure. And if you go out and spend a lot of money, then you don't want to. So you have to manage the internal dynamics as you go and change the scale play. That's the big.
Thank you very much. And that means there is a business for infrastructure companies.
Yes, absolutely. Without that, we are not getting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much.